Sergeant Paul Harrison runs a neighbourhood police task force in Chorley, Lancashire. It's the career he's always wanted.
No job is the same in policing. Every day is completely different, and that's what I love about it.
Working the streets as a neighbourhood police officer, Paul sees how small, everyday crimes can leave a big mark on the community.
And you see the impact that it has on people's lives, and you want to do whatever you can to help them.
It's September, and Paul is on shift at Chorley Police Station.
I came into an email from a member of the public who was pleading for my help. He told us that he'd sold his motorbike, and then the following day after he'd sold it, the credit card company rang him and told him that unfortunately the card that was used to pay for the bike was a clone card, and therefore that they would be retrieving the money. So essentially he'd lost his £6,000 motorbike and he got nothing in return for it.
Card cloning is when criminals steal data from a credit card and then copy it to make fraudulent purchases.
Using fraudulent cards and fraudulent payments and stuff is massively on the rise and has been. It's a really, really common occurrence. So I was quite intrigued by the email. I could see that he was quite desperate to try and go and recover this bike.
Paul takes the case on. It might be a relatively small crime, but he can tell what it means to the victim.
If we don't recover that bike, then this person is £6,000 worse off. I offered our help and we discussed what we were going to do.
When the bike's owner comes in, it turns out he's already done some investigating of his own. He'd found the bike for sale online. Then he got his dad to feign interest in buying it and tracked the seller to a house in Manchester.
He had already made contact with the person selling this bike, and he'd got an address and had agreed to go and meet up with this chap. So because he'd agreed to meet up with him, for me, that was an opportunity.
It's a step closer to getting the bike back. But Paul spots a problem with their plan.
This individual selling the bike, we don't know who he is, and personally I felt that that was a bit of a danger and a risk. I wasn't prepared to let him go on his own and look to try and recover this bike.
Paul decides to go along to pay the man selling the stolen bike a visit. He alerts Greater Manchester Police that he's coming to their patch and quickly assembles a team.
So I went with the father in his car, and I had two uniformed members of staff who arrived in a marked police car, and I had two other members of staff who were in plain clothes as well.
While the rest of the officers park up out of sight, Paul and the bike owner's dad wait to see if the seller turns up.
A lot of the time where people are selling stuff on the internet, they'll give an address and it won't be the correct address, or someone will just meet them outside. I didn't know what we were approaching, I didn't know what we were going to go into.
But Paul has a plan in place.
The tactics were, we would go and we would see what was happening. I would need the two officers to just keep observations on me as soon as we go into the address. We need to know, is that bike the stolen bike?
Playing the role of potential buyers, Paul and the victim's father will go into the seller's house. They agree a secret code to use if the bike is definitely the one that was stolen from his son.
So if this is definitely 100% the bike, you need to be telling me, and you need to say, we're having it. That will indicate to me that this is the bike and that I can then arrest the male for handling stolen goods.
They're almost ready to go in. But first, Paul needs a suitable disguise.
Obviously, I decided to go in plain clothes. It would look daft if a police officer just turns up in the car with it. At that point, looked in the gym bag. The only thing that I've got is a number 9 Liverpool Robbie Fowler shirt from 2007. So I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm going to have to wear this. So I did, I put that on. hindsight's a great thing. I'm going into the middle of Manchester with a Liverpool shirt on. So maybe if I was reviewing the matter again, I'd probably do that bit a little bit differently.
But it's too late to back out now. At the seller's house in Newton Heath, Manchester, a man has come out to meet them.
He comes round the corner and sees us, so at that point, we both get out of the car. I've got this Liverpool shirt on, and I'm thinking, what's he going to say here? So he goes, Liverpool, you like Liverpool? I said, yeah. He said, yeah, I do. So I was like, I was relieved, because I thought, flipping out, I'm in the middle of Manchester, and he's a Liverpool fan, this guy. And at that point, he just waves us over to go in.
Inside the house, Paul and the victim's father need to move quickly. The longer they're in there without police backup, the greater the risk.
I'd requested that after no more than 30 seconds of me going into the premise, that one of my colleagues would give me a call and I would relay to them a certain code word, and that then would indicate to them that they were needed to come into the address sooner rather than later.
The victim's father takes one look at the bike and is certain it's the same one stolen from his son.
He has a look at the bike and says, "We're having it."
At that very moment, Paul's police colleague calls him.
So I answered it and I said, "All right, love." And I said, "I'll be home soon. We're having it."
The bike thief has no idea what's coming next.
So at that point, I have arrested this male for handling stolen goods, and it just come as a complete shock. He had no idea that obviously I was police.
And right on cue, the rest of the team arrive.
The actual card that was used to purchase that bike was a clone card, so we have authority to search for items in relation to that offence.
But as the search begins, something catches an officer's eye.
Initially, the offender was sat down on his couch. There were 2 keys next to him. That's when we noticed that one of the keys gone missing. And one of my officers asked him, "Was the second key that you had with you?" And at that point, it becomes a bit uncompliant and it's not cooperating with us. So straight away, we're like, "Well, where's that key gone?" I don't know what he did with it, whether he swallowed it, I don't know. But all we knew is that there was a key missing.
The missing key is now the focus of the police search, and the man under suspicion is not reacting well.
There was a complete shift in his demeanour. He started to sweat profusely. I remember this. And the sweat is pumping off him. It was completely bizarre. I felt that there was something more going on. He is becoming more aggressive to the point where we have to restrain him.
For Paul, it's a huge red flag.
You could sense that he was really, really agitated, and gave me reason to believe that there was something that he didn't want us to find.
Then, Paul's team of officers make a discovery that will escalate this crime to a whole new level.
There was a black box, which was like a metal box. I'm thinking, right, what is it? What's in it? We can see it's padlocked. Putting 2 and 2 together, is the key that has vanished? Is that to open the padlock?
The entire operation shifts gear. Paul needs to know what he's hiding. What started out as a little crime is about to get a whole lot bigger. Back in Manchester, police have found the stolen motorbike. But as their suspect has started sweating and acting suspiciously, Sergeant Paul Harrison believes he's hiding something much bigger. And their attention is focused on a padlocked metal box.
I said, we will do whatever it takes to get into that box. There were power tools in the room next to us. We need to force entry into it, basically.
While his officers grab the power tools, Paul takes the bike and its rightful owner out of the house to safety.
was at that point I received a phone call from a colleague.
It's a phone call he'll never forget.
He said, "You weren't going to believe what we found." I said, "What? What have you found?" He said, "In that box, we reckon there's 10 kilos of Class A. It's all marked up." It was just completely unexpected. I wasn't expecting to find Class A drugs, especially when we're only looking for items in relation to a stolen motorbike. So it's like something massive was uncovered.
Even when Paul sees the drugs for himself, he can hardly take it in.
I couldn't believe it. I've never seen anything like it. We've got this amount of Class A, and it's gone from there to being, this is massive.
The discovery of a huge stash of what appears to be Class A drugs is far more than Paul bargained for.
I was completely shocked. I looked at it and it was like something from the scene of a Pablo Escobar film.
He needs to call in officers with the expertise to handle a drugs haul of this scale.
We've alerted GMP that this has gone from low-level crime to pretty high level.
The call lands with Detective Sergeant Terry McMillan from Greater Manchester Police.
I had a call on my radio from my sergeant asking me to go to an address in Heath. When we got there, I noticed some police officers wearing Lancashire uniform.
Terry wastes no time finding out what Paul has so unexpectedly discovered.
He pointed towards a metal box that was on the floor, and I saw what I would describe as being a rectangular box with what looked to be an Ecuadorian flag on it. I've never seen a quantity of drugs like that, and I've never seen anything within GMP or my experience, a package of that marking.
Terry realises this could be a major shipment from a South American cartel. He needs to take action fast to keep everyone safe.
At that time I was a little bit concerned and asked for some more patrols to come down so we could have some uniformed staff outside the address. It was quite clear that we'd need to do a detailed search because we didn't know if there was going to be anything else recovered there.
While his officers intensify the search, Terry meets the suspect, a 28-year-old man by the name of Iman Chaluskri.
He was a large-built male, of Middle Eastern appearance, and he was sweating quite a lot. He was in handcuffs and he looked really nervous. That led me to believe perhaps he knew a little bit more about these drugs and what he was saying, and he blamed it on someone else, but I think he knew something about them drugs.
Chaluskri is charged and brought to court the following morning.
I was happy that he was charged, not only because it's good to actually get someone off the streets committing crime, but equally it was important to charge him for his safeguarding as well.
Now Terry faces the mammoth task of gathering evidence.
There were 2 phones recovered at the scene. The technical team within Greater Manchester Police were able to hack into one of his phones very quickly, and we got the evidence from that we needed to present to the court. Evidence obtained from his mobile phone included videos of large amounts of cash, as well as large amounts of other controlled drugs such as cannabis.
But the key to the case was discovering exactly what those mysterious packages contained.
The drugs were submitted to the forensic services to be examined. They came back to confirm that there was approximately 10 kilos of cocaine with a purity value of 83%. The street value of that is just over £1 million. If it was cut down further, it could be more. The pressure was then on the investigation side of things to make sure we get this home at court.
And in February 2021, Iman Chaluskri was found guilty of being concerned in supplying controlled Class A drugs and jailed for 7.5 years.
I was satisfied with that result. Potentially he could have got more, but he could have got less. It was important to get that result.
It's taken Terry months to see this through, but the drugs might never have come to light if a small crime hadn't been investigated by dedicated neighbourhood cops.
If Lancashire hadn't taken this seriously and actually looked to come to Manchester to look for the stolen bike, the recovery of these drugs wouldn't happen.
For Sergeant Paul Harrison, it's a welcome, if surprising, outcome to an investigation that started with him.
It shows as an example that organised crime isn't just, your really high-level crimes like drug dealing. The organised crime groups can also be involved in lower level and often are. It was certainly the biggest drug seizure of my career, and it probably will remain that for the entirety of my career.
Next time on